Well, as you know, Crossroads founder David Mainse is on the road with his Thank You Canada tour, and we're staying in touch with him when we can from time to time, when he has an internet connection and we can do one of these Skype things. So, Dad, whereabouts are you today?
Fort Frances, Ontario.
Okay, Fort Frances, that's somewhere down near the border of the U.S., isn't it?
It's absolutely right on the border. The Rainy River separates us in the Rainy River district here. I remember when your brother Reynold was courting Kathy, and we were in Thunder Bay for a 100 Huntley Street rally, and a young man from Thunder Bay drove him to Fort Frances, International Falls. Someone came up from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Kathy's home picked him up, and so that was my first real knowledge of the proximity of Fort Frances and International Falls, Minnesota.
All right, well, you have been doing a lot of traveling. You're looking well, I'm glad to hear. And
thank you.
You have sent some pictures ahead. Why don't you just show us a little bit of what you've been up to?
Well, let's back up to Winnipeg. Went to visit the global television station in the Global Communications Center, a skyscraper building in Winnipeg, with one of the staff there. And then, of course, I always honor every chance I have the gentleman who led the global communications empire, really, Izzy Asper, the late Izzy Asper, a philanthropist and a great visionary businessman. Of course, just east of Winnipeg is the longitudinal center of Canada, equal distance between the most westerly point and the most easterly point in Canada, the very center of the country. Stopped there, and of course, there were torrential rains there. I mean, I went through streets that were flooded right up to the floor of the car in Winnipeg. And then, of course, flying back from our service to honor Rhonda Glenn, I was late, actually, and made a small contribution to the police department between Winnipeg and Steinbeck. Sorry to admit that, Norma Jean, if you're watching, she always warns me. But I was late, and but they started without me in Steinbeck. And then, of course, in Kenora, the beautiful Lake of the Woods, Sarah and Aaliyah and James. And, of course, my grandson-in-law is traveling with me and his family. In Kenora, we had a great night, and we're so thankful for that. Then on down to Fort Frances. Actually, you go through Emo, a community called Emo, and just north of Emo is the Isaiah 11 Last Days Wildlife Sanctuary. And here's where the owner got his name, from Isaiah chapter 11. The wolf will live with the lamb, a cow will feed with the bear. There were new little bear cubs, and Aaliyah fed a 4-day-old fawn there. And I was thrilled to see something of this nature visited by tourists from all over the world, named after Isaiah chapter 11. Which is, of course, when Christ returns and the effects of the curse of sin on the human race and on nature are lifted. And then, of course, this is the capital, if you will, of the pulp and paper industry. Huge plant here. And then, of course, here in Fort Frances. Well, I went over to Emo. I visited in the home of Mariah, who's 97 years old and still a faithful partner every month. But here I knelt beside Mary, who a couple of years ago, she went blind, but she has insight like you would not believe. She certainly sees a lot more than the rest of us who are sighted people. And a couple of years ago, she had to stop her support because of her blindness, but she managed to come out. Her daughter picked her up, brought her to the event last night here in Fort Frances, and then we're going on to Thunder Bay, and we'll be there for Friday night, Ron.
Well, Dad, that's quite a trip that you're on, and you're nearing the end of the first leg. I believe it ends June the 16th in Sudbury. But let's have some dates come up, at least for the next few events, so those in those areas can come on out, and we encourage you to do that. Friday, June 4th, tomorrow night, Evangel Church in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and then Saturday, you got to make the trip. The next day, June 5th, to the Free Methodist Church in Timmins, Ontario. So come on out there in Timmins. And then Tuesday, June 8th, at Living Faith Assembly in Kirkland Lake, Ontario. So, Dad, that's very exciting. I know you are enjoying yourself. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of travel, but when you keep calling me from the road and giving me updates off TV, you're excited about all the people you're able to connect with.
I am. I love visiting, Ron, with people. When I was a pastor, I did television as a sideline. But what I enjoyed most was not the pulpit. It was not the television. It was visiting in the homes of people. So I do get to visit some shut-ins. Now, when I get in the larger cities, that's going to be more difficult than it is in areas like where I am right now. But this is the first time in my life I've ever slipped down to that southerly border, if you will, of northwestern Ontario at Fort Frances. And I was thrilled to meet for the first time many of our partners, those who support us so faithfully. And so I'm just delighted to be here. I am having a great time. Now, last August, in an extended time of prayer, I said, Lord, is there something else I can do? And I believe I heard that still small voice, that inner voice saying, David, you could visit across Canada and say, thank you, thank you, thank you to all the people who support the ministry and all of those who are watching, who are supporters. Thank you, thank you, thank you to you too. And thank you to you, Ron, and Moira, Jim, the crew, just everybody there. God love you.
All right, thanks so much, Dad, and we will definitely stay in touch. But the rest of the leg of this first leg is on our website at crossroads.ca. And as we line up more in the fall, as he goes down to Eastern Canada, the Maritimes, later in the summer, you can find that online as well, where he's going to be. So let's stay in touch.
Now there are even more ways to join the 100 Huntley Street online community. We'd love to hear from you, so stay in touch with us.